Well, we're back in this weird spot. I'm sitting crisscross applesauce. It is cold as fuck. The first snow happened, of course, the 1st of November, but we're here for the October wrap-up. I'm gonna do this as fast as possible because I don't want to stay in this position. My feet are cold. I do have a blanket on my lap, though. You are right in front of my computer, so if it turns on, it's not my fault, but it did. The fan just did turn off, so it should be fine. And that's what I'm gonna be reading off of. Tell you what books I read. Also, I have sticky notes here from Bookathon. Ignore the nail polish. I accidentally cut the nail polish brush along the side of my hand, and the only thing I had to wipe it off on was the sticky notes. So I wasn't sure how I was gonna do it for a brief amount of time. I thought I was gonna just do Bookathon books and then go to all the other books, but multiple of the books that I read for the Bookathon are sequels to books that I read outside the Bookathon, but in the same month. So it was like too complicated. I was like, I'll just mention if it was in the Bookathon and or Spookathon because it was October, and what prompt they were for, right? But yes, wrap up. Here we are. I'm gonna start with stats. If you hear my mouse, no, you don't. No, you don't. In my defense, the scroll wheel does not work anymore. I cry. It's fine. Could I plug in one of my other mouse? Yes. Will I? Haha, I did plug in another mouse because I remembered where I put one, which is right behind me, and it has a working scroll wheel. Is it a Mac mouse on a Dell computer? Yes. No one tell anyone. Anyways, stats. October, I read a total of 19 books. There was 3,857 pages and 68 hours in that. My average rating was 4.01. Very proud of that. Okay. I didn't think I was gonna get it to 4 until the second to last book I read. It hit 4 exactly, and I was like, yes, I must read a book that is either going to be 4 stars or more, and that's why I read the last book that I read. There were 4 rereads and 9 by authors of color, and whatnot. Genres, we have 2 classics. I forgot about one of those. Wow. 2 contemporaries, 1 dystopian, 5 fantasy, 1 graphic novel / comic. It depending where you go, it says it's a graphic novel, and some places say it's a comic, so there's no comic section, so I just put graphic novel. 1 horror, 1 magical realism, 1 nonfiction. Please stop scrolling to the side. For the love of God, computer. 7 romance, and that's it. Format, surprisingly no mixed media. That's very rare for me. There were 8 just audio, 11 ebooks, and 2 physical, which you can totally see right there. For age range, okay, apparently this mouse can scroll to the side. Oh boy, that's making this interesting. There were 12 adult, 1 middle grade, obviously gonna be recorded, 2 new adult, and 6 YA. Okay, and then there were 2 books were debuts, and then 11 were from authors I read before, and 8 from new to me. There were 5 stars. In my defense, only 2 of those are rereads, and 1 of those is me upping it to 5 stars from 4 stars. So pretty good, honestly. A 4.5 star, 4 4.25s, 4 4 stars, a 3.5, a 3, a 2.75, a 2.5, a 2, and I believe 2 DNFs. Yep. So yeah, that's the stats. Good times, fun times. Okay, onto the actual books. So the first one up above the cards, I'm gonna just put the podcast because there's gonna be a lot of podcast ones because we did double books in October, or double episodes, so 2 episodes a week. One of the earlier episodes we did was They by K. Dick. It just made sense because the audiobook's like 3 hours long. It's very fast, and I happened to have it from Hoopla, and Stingray had just read it, so like it made sense to do that one first. That was the first book I read. I rated it 4.25 stars. There's a whole episode about it, so like I'm not gonna go into depth, but it gave me what I wished when people, like artsy people from the liberal arts college I went to, were like, ooh, this artsy book is so good that like talks about society and whatnot, so good, and they would recommend these books, and then I hated them, or just books in general. Where the Crawdads Sing is just a very evident one in my brain, constant one in my brain, where so many people in my writing classes were like, this is the best book ever, you should read it. So I eventually picked it up, and then I despised it. And yeah. So this is what I wish those people would talk about. And yeah, I liked it. It was 4.25 stars for me. Good times. And then I started the Viscount Who Loved Me. Got 4 hours in. I don't know how much that is. And then I DNF'd it. Hear me out. No. I'm just gonna rewatch season 2. Thank you very much. It's really upsetting because, like, I love season 2, okay, of the show. Like, spectacular. Which is surprising, being as the whole entire romance of it is this guy and then the sister of his kind of the girl that he's like going after, like her sister is the relationship, and that's not something I would normally like, but I like how they changed it from the book. The book can fight me. I remember sending so many voice messages to the fish stingray, and like it added up to like over 7 minutes of just me screaming about this book and how no, this wasn't cute, it was abusive, please get me out, I hate it here, and all that stuff. So I decided to DNF it, and contemplated. The whole reason why I was reading it is because I wanted it to be the V for the alphabet reading challenge, right? So I was like, I need to find something else. Contemplated making a Very Hungry Caterpillar. Sadly not gonna happen. I decided to do something else, but like, that would have been funny. Third book I read, technically I read the second half only in October, but Mark of Athena. Okay. I like the 4.5. Okay, for a second I read that as just 4, and I was like, I better not have. What? No, 4.5. It is spectacular. I cried at the end. You telling me? Like, I remembered, because it's been like a decade, probably, and so I remember when there's like in the 4th one where Percy and Annabeth go, and I remember that they get there at the end of this book. How did I not remember Percy literally holding her hand, keeping her from falling, and she goes, you have to let me go, there's nothing you can do, and he goes, no, I promised you I'd never leave you again, and instead lets them both go and holds her as they fall together. I'd like to sue Rick Riordan for emotional damage. How dare he do this to me? I cried. I love this book. It is okay that I only read the second half in October, because I technically read the first half of the House of Hades. Should I actually finish one of these books in the month that I start them? Yes. Will I? Who knows? But yeah, this is great. How did I forget how good this is? Like, honestly, how did I? Then the 4th book I read was the book for the weekend reading vlog, which was Crave. I was scared, but I read it. That show was funny, and the ending was very dramatic, and I kind of need to continue the series immediately. And I loved it. I don't know how this happened, but I rated it 5 stars. I will leave it up above the card so you can see why I rated it 5 stars. I did find like some of it very dumb. Like, yes, they do like start saying I love you after like a month maybe, but like, no, it wasn't a month. I remember it being like a week, because at one point near the end she said that it was a week, and I started freaking out in bed like, what? I thought it had been a month, but like, it makes sense because they're kind of trauma bonded, and also they both have the trauma of grief going on, heavy grief, both her parents having died recently, and having his brother die recently, and them not being the same people they were before, because like, you change after something like that, and how they understood what the other one was going through. Very beautiful. I liked it. The Twilight jokes, where he literally gives her Twilight before she knows he's a vampire, and she's like, ooh, I'd like to read a vampire romance. hilarious. So yeah, 5 stars. Then I read the 6th volume of Oron, which I gave 4 stars. If I remember properly, this is the one, so the 3 that I read in October is continuing the process. I think one of the last few I read in August was when they start going into the other members of the host club's background a little bit, and I believe maybe it was this one was more of the twins' background. I don't know. But there's more of that in the 3 that I read this month. But also, Tamaki low-key realizing his feelings for Haruhi and then freaking out because he views himself as like a father figure, and he's like, I can't want to kiss my daughter. That's weird. And then he gets super sick and down from it. This is the last one that I read. I should not be talking about that yet, but it was very funny at moments. 4 stars. Continuing with the 4 stars. Then to continue the fishing series, vlog series, where I finished a series downstairs. That sounds weird. I don't understand what's happening downstairs. But a fishing series. Somehow, despite finishing a series for this vlog, right? The whole point of it, I technically went from 67 series in the middle of to 70 in this month. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Which means I started 4. Whoops. But yes, actually I started 5 because I DNF'd the Bridgerton series, so good times. But to do that, I read the novella in the Bargainer series, Emperor of Evening Stars. I rated 3 stars. The first half was very slow, did not like it. And then the second, maybe it was like the last third, more like, was more of what was actually happening in the book series so far, from his point of view, which one helped me remember things from the second book that I was like, I am 98% sure in the vlog. I was like, I'm 98% sure this is actually the bad guy. Yeah, it was. We learned that in the second book. I'm a dumbass. But it helped me with that, but also saw some things in the relationship from his point of view, which I found interesting, especially from the first book. And then like one scene from the second book, rated 3 stars. It was fun. Then I finally read a book that I've been planning to read for months. I meant to read it months ago, and I finally read it. Their Eyes Were Watching God. I did the audiobook, which was great. Rated it 4 stars. It was very sad. When he died after the flood, I was like, oh my god. Because I was like, thank god she finally found someone who understands her and like respects her in a way and loves her for her. And then he goes and just dies trying to save her, and it was that. It was that. I liked it. 4 stars. How dare I take so long to pick it up. Then for one of the book clubs, I read The Last House on Needless Street, which I believe is the first one I read for the Spookopoly-thon. Yes, it was, because the first thing I rolled was an 8, which was green cover, and I was halfway through Needless Street at that point, because that's when I remembered that was a thing happening. And I went, oh, well, that fits. And so I finished The Last House on Needless Street. I'm pretty sure I did, like, the buddy read dates for, like, the first half, and then the second half, I just didn't read for like 2 days and then read all of it the last day, right? Because I didn't like it. It was fine. I gave it a 2.75. I'm contemplating lowering it. I don't want to though, because that will lower my average rating for the month to below a 4, most likely. And I don't want that. But I didn't like it. Most of the issues that the other people had throughout the book, I wasn't having issues with. Like, it wasn't that big a deal to me. But then the revelation at the end that, like, this guy who we're supposed to believe is the villain this whole time, as well as everyone else, happens to have, DID. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I remember us as a community, as a planet, agreeing, hey, maybe we shouldn't do that anymore after the movie Split. Did I like that movie? Yes. But, like, I also recognize how harmful it is and whatnot. And then this happens, and also, like, a lot of the times, with the split personalities, and how they are, I didn't understand what was happening half the time. And then also I saw someone say with the cat knocking things off the table, trying to realize what was things that was actually happening is so confusing. And I went back in my brain and I was like, no, that like stuff doesn't make sense if it's like his multiple personalities, how things are happening, right? It doesn't make sense. So it's sitting at 2.75, but I feel like I should lower it. I hear my dog. Then I read the second book for this book-a-thon, which was, I wrote the 7 apparently, which was Trees, which is basically you need to read a book that has trees on the cover. I spent a long time just looking at covers of books, right? So I happened to have one of the ebooks I had at Libby, happened to have trees on it, and it was like, the loan was running low, and I was like, I guess I'll read this one. And the way I wasn't gonna read it, the way I was gonna just put it on my TBR shelf on Libby, and then like maybe at another point one day I'll pick it up. And that was The Secret Lives of Country Gentlemen. There we go. This was my favorite book of the month. It was so good. It was so good. It's the historical gay romance I always wanted. It was everything that I had and wanted from A Lady for a Duke, plus some more. Is there miscommunication in this book? Yes, but it's done in a way that makes sense because we have both their POVs and both their backgrounds, and we know as a reader why both of them are misunderstanding what's happening, and why they are fighting, and why what one of them means is not coming across the way that he intends to the other one, because the way that the other one views certain things, like the way I automatically forget all their characters. The main character, he, the Lord, technically, I guess, he doesn't have any experience of being loved. He's just been abandoned his whole life. No one ever loved him, and all this stuff. So to have this guy betray him, and then without, like, definitely trying to not betray him, but, like, not trying hard enough, very clearly, doing something very shitty, in the process, and then trying to apologize to him, but he can't, understand why someone would care enough to do that, and so he just views it as him trying to, control him more, and thinking that he's just gonna betray him again, because why wouldn't he? Like, everyone betrays him, everyone, leaves him, and all this stuff, and then that guy, always being the type of person who has to do everything for his family and care for everyone no matter what, and do all this stuff, and then to have this one guy who doesn't want his help and doesn't respect what he does for a living and all this stuff, and him being like, this is just the way that I live, and him having to be like, yeah, but like, I don't understand that because I've never had to experience that, because I've never had anyone care for me that way, or had to care for someone like that, because I've never had anyone, is just so beautiful, and I love it. If you like historical romance, read it. I am making I'm making Stingray read it for a vlog at some point. Cough, cough. Because it is spectacular, okay? And the way that I went from that to Dark Harmony is just astronomical. Which was the next book. I mean, I did roll a 9 and then land on Mirror, where you gotta, like, I skipped it. I'm upset. Because, like, technically Gilded Covers work. Do we see this? Do we see this? It would have worked. I'm a dumbass. But I skipped it, and landed on, poll, which is basically you do a poll to see what people choose for you to read. And I did, for the first one, I had to do 2 because it was the first one. The Golden Mirror was skipped, so I had to do 2 for poll. And the first one, Money Wings, was the emoji. You know the emoji. The Money with Wings. One which I did Dark Harmony. I did realize after the fact I could have just there's like probably an angel and I could have just done that instead. But I did Dark Harmony. A very long book. I finished the series. Things happened. They have sex at the stupidest times, and the way I went into the vlog, so I'm not going to go into it now, but the way things were done, especially romance way, was very weird to me. It made no sense, and the most inopportune time, and also the fact that I went oh, the bad guy's a god. And then, oh, look, the bad guy's a god. And then I went, how are they going to defeat the god? And then within a chapter of her finding out that he's a god, she kills him. How? I don't understand. I did like how we got to see her, go through this journey throughout the series, but mostly this book, of her accepting her siren and becoming, into the power that the siren gives her, being scared of what it can do, and just using it, to its full advantage, and, to the point at the end where she kills a god, technically by drowning him. And Siren, yeah, I did totally guess that, what's his name? Is his name Des? The love interest wasn't dead. As soon as, like, she was crying that he was dead, I was like, he's not dead. He's not dead. It's not real. Guess what? It wasn't real. He wasn't dead. So, yeah, good times. And then, for the second poll, I did, Ouran High School Host Club Volume 7. Did I do 4 books? I did 4 of Ouran this month, apparently. I'm a dumbass. Volume 7, rated 4 stars as well. Is this the one where they do the tournament to see who wins this giant area for, like, community day at school or whatever, and, we meet Tamaki's grandma, and learn why, he's only in the second mansion, like, his family doesn't like him and all this stuff. Very sad. I think is that one, I don't know. Like the 4 stars. And then, the second poll, the bee emoji one, which I did for Start of the Sea, because there's, like, that version that has the bee on the cover, right? And I DNF'd it near halfway through. It is a long-ass book. It is so long. And I understood none of what was happening. And I looked at reviews, and there were some people, from what I could understand, who were like, yeah, it's a thing of, like, you don't understand until the end, and even then, like, there's, like, some loopholes, and, you just gotta accept it for what it is and whatnot. But I don't like books where I'm confused the whole fucking time. I don't like it. I didn't know what was happening. I sat there for 7.5 hours listening to this book intently, and I cannot tell you a fucking thing that happened. Okay? I do not know. So I DNF'd it. I'm very sad about it, because I thought it was gonna be so my thing. I mean, he's from Vermont. Like, it was so my vibe. It was, like, so me. But, like, it was not it, fam. I didn't like it. I get why people like it. But it was not for me. I cannot separate my brain enough to, like, just accept that I don't understand what's happening, and there's a chance I will not. Sadly. So, because I DNF'd it, I just made it to the second place winner for that poll, was the one I read, which was the bunny emoji for Usa-chan. Honey's stuffed animal bunny, and Ouran. So I read Ouran Volume 8. I rate that one 4.25 stars. Do I remember exactly why I rated that one 4.25 stars? No. It was good though. If I imagine, I giggled a lot and had a good time in the end. Then, I landed on Jigsaw for Spookathon, which is, like, you have to choose a book that has a game of some kind. And I was having trouble figuring out what to do. I ended up doing By Heart and Other Black Holes for it, which is a book for, my 3rd vlog of the month. Thank you, dog, for barking in the background. But there's a lot of basketball and track and whatnot talked about in this book, and then it happens that, like, at one arcade game, or, like, not arcade, you know, the, what is it, not arcade, circus, not circus, but, you know, those type of things with, like, the Ferris wheel and whatnot. He plays this game for, stuffed animal, and he wins the basketball game super fast, like, really easy, and I was like, counts. The end. It was a reread. I upped it from 4 to 4.25. I have some little issues. There is a podcast episode about it too, but I liked it. Moving on. Then I landed on highest rated. The issue with highest rated is most of the books highest rated on my Goodreads, TBR, is, all the later books in Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. I'm nowhere near getting to those books. So not gonna happen. So instead I read That's the Way Love Goes, which I think is a self-published or indie published, can't remember which. Romance. Hear me out. It had a lot of tropes that I don't like. It had cheating, was very prevalent, miscommunication, constant fighting, surprise pregnancy. I totally believe that she should end up with because there's like a sequel. I'm not gonna read it, but I totally believe that she should end up with is he a football player? I can't remember, but I think she should end up with him. And yeah, like if you, I get why someone would like it. It's just not for me. So I went with 2 stars. Not mad I read it though, especially since I got it for free. So like whatever. And then what was the next prompt? Oh yeah, TBR vet. The next one I had was the one, I think it was Stabby, where you have to read a bloody book, and I would have read the sequel to this book, but I didn't. So TBR vet, I went through all the oldest books on my TBR, a lot of Alice Osman, or not Osman, Hoffman. Yeah, Alice Hoffman in there. But I read Monstrous Volume 1, that's a comic/graphic novel. Very dark. You are definitely instantly thrown into that, and you just got sink or swim, sink or swim. But I did it. I enjoyed it. I will continue the series. The art style is spectacular, okay? The story, I'm interested. I'm scared for these people in the end. I get why people like it. It's good. I rated 3.5 stars. Then I did my reread for the 3rd vlog, A Faithful via audio, and I rated 5 stars. It's still good. I almost cried. I did cry at one point. It was good. I'm gonna force the fish stingray to read it. I do not care. Hear me out. It's so them coded, okay? It's sad and depressing, so it's them coded. And then for the same vlog, I did my reread of Pride and Prejudice, hence why this is here. Which is what I upped it to 5 stars. This is the one I upped to 5 stars. It is, I mean, didn't really expect otherwise from me. I was listening to I just realized this is upside down. I was listening to the soundtrack from the Joe Bright version the whole entire time. Especially I figured out that my favorite song from the soundtrack is the one when Darcy gives her the letter, which is of course the most depressing song in the soundtrack in my opinion. And so like I was on and off listening to that song. Like I had the soundtrack on shuffle and whatnot, so it was just going through whatever. But as soon as that scene happened, I was like, okay, now I need to play that song on purpose. And I had to listen to it for like 20 minutes because technically the letter is like 10 pages long. Is he okay? Darcy, I get that there was a lot of info in there, but Darcy, please. Anyways, I get why they changed some things for the movie, and I don't mind. I like them. I do like when I go to annotate it at some point, I'm gonna have to use a specific highlighter color for like lines of dialogue that are kept exactly the same, or almost exactly the same, because I noticed it enough times. That's how many times I've watched a movie this year. It's fine. But yeah, it's spectacular. I do like how we get to see some of their marriage, like a tiny bit, like it's the end of a chapter, but like some of their marriage and aftermath and other relationships with certain people after the fact. The Bingley sisters can fight me. I do like how we only got one in the movie because I do not think I could handle 2. No. Also that, I think it was, is it Lydia who marries Wickham? I do also like how in the movie, they toned down Lydia a little bit. Thank God. Because, oh my God, I don't think I could have watched that. And then I listened to the audiobook of It Came From the Closet for the podcast. It's a 2-parter for the podcast. So, like, I read the whole thing, though. Took many pages of notes. I was, like, having fun with, like, different color highlighters and whatnot. I felt like I was a middle school girl in a history class. Like, you know, but yeah, I read it 4 stars. I think if you take the average rating of all the essays, because I did rate all of them, half-heartedly, it was like 3.68, so like technically I should have lowered it to a 5.5, or up to 0.75, but I was like, I only disliked 2 of the essays. So I'm just gonna give it a 4, right? It was good. I highly recommend. Then I read for the Buzzwordathon, I needed to read a book with the word magic in the title, so I read Magic Lies and Deadly Pies at the very end of the month, like the last day I finished it, and I rated it 5 stars. I get that when I went to read it, I was like, okay, cozy mystery, let's see if I like cozy mysteries. And then I learned about this book from Books and Lala, right? And in her vlog, I went to re-watch that clip in that vlog, she was like, it's more fun than cozy mystery. And I get that. 100%. Mellie's character, I would love to punch her in the face. I hate her so much. I think the reason why I dislike her so much is because she reminds me of real life people in my real life, and yeah. If you understand, you understand. But, like, just her attitude towards other women and other people of the gay, like, queer community, like, be so serious. So I'm happy that she ends up with who she ends up with in the end, even though it kind of seems kind of open-ended. There is a sequel out now. I do want to read it ASAP. I also know there's a 3rd one coming out next year. Very excited. But, like, hear me out. A book about a woman who bakes pies that murder people, who abuse women in one way or another, and then she's just living her life in a small town in New England. It's so me-coded. In fact, there's a part where her and Melly go on a date to a Dr. Seuss museum, and the whole entire time I was reading that scene, I was like, I'm pretty sure I went there for, like, in elementary school. Like, but yeah, it was good. There's also, like, a competition that happens, and there's also a mystery of someone blackmailing her, trying to get her to kill these women because, he wronged them, and he wants them dead, and all this stuff, and the way he was like, I'm gonna publicly out you as a murderer, and so he does that on Instagram or some kind of social media, and then all the women that she's helped via the Deadly Pies and whatnot put in the comments a bunch of things about how her pies are to die for. Like, it's like I think there's like 7 of them that are just to die for puns and stuff like that. And I was dying, and I was like, that is so funny. That is the funniest way you could have made that happen. Like, that's the funniest way you could have ended that. Like, I do not care. That is, oh, it made me laugh so hard. The resolution for that whole thing was great. Loved it. 5 out of 5. Second favorite, and then Crave will go 3rd place, right? And then I still had to read for like half an hour, and at this point I had a 4.0 for my average rating, and I was like, well, I want to read something that's going to be 4 stars or higher, and I know Oron's going to do that. So I just read a whole entire Oron volume for the fun of it. Read volume 9. I almost cried at the very, how dare she, at the very end of this volume, no, like, put Maury thinking, I do want to kiss Honey. And then that's how you end it? No! How dare you? This is the one where Tamaki, realizes he wants to kiss Haruhi, and, he doesn't know what to do with his feelings about it. I do like how it naturally came about that he realized this because, there's this new girl at school, and she looks a lot like his mother, and so he starts caring, for her like he wished he could care for his mother and all this stuff, and after the fact, Haruhi helps with like a lot of stuff, and then after the fact she comes up to him and she's like, yeah, I understand, I get it. As like someone who lost her mother, I understand. It's like not the same, but like I get it. And so then he's all like, she understands me, and then wants to kiss her. It's so good. Also, sick Tamaki. Top tier, the way that everyone tried to help him. And yeah, it was just so good. I think this is the one where there was like also some stuff with the twins, and how they end up joining the host club, I think, if I remember properly. But yeah, I rated it 4.25 stars, and that's how I went from 4.0 to 4.01. And that's the last book I read. The end. We are good to go. I'm gonna go. I gotta stand up from this position. My back, oh my god. So yeah, till the next video, I believe the next one, of course, Wednesday is gonna be a read with me, and then next weekend, next Saturday, will be the weekend reading vlog. I already know what the book's gonna be. It's gonna be interesting. It's a romance. I'm scared.